Hello, everybody. Coach Derrick here, and today I wanted to share with you my journey in getting ready for a second place finish at the 2023 Rock and Roll Las Vegas Half Marathon. We're going to talk about my training, what went well, what didn't go so well, the things I'm going to take away into my next training block, and things that I might avoid or really look to improve on as we go along. So let's just hop right into the overview of what we saw. You'll see here on screen, second place finish in a time of 1:12:45, which for me is actually a PR, and I would consider a pretty successful race. So what did it take for me to get there? Well, let's just hop over to my training logs and we'll just walk right through and go back all the way to my last marathon, which took place in October. So in October, I ran Brookings Marathon and then got married and went on my honeymoon. So I had a couple weeks off. But then looking back into the training for my full training block starting mid-November, I would say, a lot of it was just mileage. So if we look at these first couple weeks, getting back into it, we're looking at about 60 miles in my first week back. Nothing too exciting. Just doing some of those strength-based workouts. 10 times hill repeats. I think it was like 1 minute hill repeats up the hill, and then a 3 by 10 minute threshold workout. So nothing too crazy, just bread and butter type things. So we'll move along. I don't want to spend too much time early on because a lot of this is just going to be really basic strength, threshold, and volume. Moving into the next week, 72 miles. Again, more threshold, threshold in the morning, threshold in the evening, with a long run at about 1 hour and 45 minutes. And we're just stepping up that volume again, going into the third week of training at 75 miles. We'll look at this session, double threshold again, 6 by 1 mile in the 5:35 range in the morning, and then double threshold 4 by a mile in that same range, totaling 10 miles of threshold in that day. And then right here, 4 by 1 minute hills, 5 miles in tempo zone, and then 4 by a minute hill repeats there. And capping it off with a 16.5 mile long run for the week, totaling 75 miles for that week. Now, fast forward to the next week, we ended up going on a trip for work to the running event down in Texas. And so a lot of this was group runs down there with the other participants, and capped off with just a little 5K, actually around a racetrack. And I ended up running that in 15:50, which for me was a PR at the time and not a bad race, but you'll see volume was down a little bit, which is okay because we just had 3 consecutive weeks of building. So to step back a little bit, no complaints there. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit more intense, leading back into it. Well, not for me this week. This is just a volume week. Again, 62 miles. And again, not even a real long run that week. But here we go. Another one, 64 miles, kind of just in that bread and butter zone, a tempo run there and a long run. And then this is where things start to pick up. Middle of December, we are going back into the double sessions. So in the morning, I had 6 by 1 mile threshold, PM 2 by 2 mile threshold. So we are beginning to evolve that threshold session in the evening. Instead of 4 by a mile, it was 2 by 2 mile. And then 50 minutes at marathon effort with a little just easy shakeout double in the evening, capping with an 18-mile long run, and then 11-mile medium long run, just mileage there to close out the week. That brought us to 90 miles for the week. That's a big week, and you're going to see things will start to stack up. So we have another one with another threshold session in the morning and a threshold session in the evening. This time, a little bit different, 8 by 800 with a short rest, only 60 seconds rest. And then we went from 50 minutes to an hour marathon effort for my second workout of the week, and capping it off with a 20-mile long run on January 1st. Yes, I did not stay out too late. I did not stay up on the 31st for New Year's, so I was able to get up and do a nice long run. Now, things just continue in that zone. More threshold in the morning, 6 by a mile, and 2 by 1 mile, 4 by 800. Just another variation of about that 4 mile threshold work in the evening. And here we go, from 50 to 60 to 70 minutes fast, capping it off with a 22-mile long run. So you'll see if we look at these 3 weeks in a row, the mileage is all about the same, but the intensity minutes are adding up over time. And the long run is a 22-mile long run to cap off that week. Now, if we're talking about things that I think we did well in the build-up to this marathon, or to the half marathon, I think one of the things that I was really intentional about and am pleased with was the tune-up races that I included within this block. So the first one you'll see this week is an actual indoor track meet. It was a college meet that I just entered as an open athlete, and it was a 3K on the track. Not a lot of experience racing on the track, but I wanted to just include a little bit of that faster pace effort in the training. And I also followed that up with a 4-mile race that we'll cover in a little bit. But this week, again, a treadmill workout. That's always tricky with really knowing the exact pacing and how it would translate. But there we go, a workout on Tuesday, more of that threshold, 5:30 to 5:35 pace range. And then on race day, there we go. Ended up racing the Mount Marty 3K, finishing in 9:17, which was a PR for me. I think maybe a little bit underperforming if I had actually been training for a 3K. Whereas, running threshold miles and doing 90 miles per week, probably not optimal for the 3K. But this was a good effort just to spin the legs a little bit. I actually had been running primarily on treadmill. So this was, if I remember right, like the first time I had ran on flat ground in quite some time. And so placing third overall, I was super pleased with to do that in a college meet, and first time placing on the podium. So super excited about that. Followed it up with a 15-mile long run to close out the week, bringing us to 71.8 miles for that week. Now, this is where things actually get even more interesting. So this is when I began working with a coach, Coach John, and this is the first session starting with him. And this is where things get a little bit interesting. So I think I benefited a lot from working with him. Um, and then I think there are some things that maybe I jumped into the deep end a little too much with him. So you'll see this session is not a lot different than what I had been doing. Um, all at about that 530 to 535 range, that threshold range for me. But what's different is following up with the second workout in the week. So it was not a threshold workout. It was just mileage followed by 10 by 150 at, yeah, as you see there, 439 pace. So, yeah, we're working on that top end speed, and that's good for running form, good for mechanics, good for tapping into that speed potential. But I do think overall it will come to bite us in a little bit, and I'll get into that later on in the video. But for now, cap that with a 20-mile long run for the end of the week. And then we do more of the same, 75 miles this week, more threshold, easy double, and then 2.5 miles at that threshold, and then 10 by 200 meters again at that sub 5, closer to 440 pace. So we're really stacking up those reps at that higher pace. A total of 74 miles. Then we'll go into this. I was feeling a little bit fatigued that weekend, so I took 2 days off. Weird, which is not normal for me, but definitely needed. And then closing it out with 4 by 1 mile, which is around 5K effort for that day, and then 8 by 200 fast at the end. So that was a really successful workout in my opinion. But again, I think the fatigue was maybe starting to build a little bit more than I had bargained for, even though I'm running fewer miles. We'll keep on going. And this is race week, and you'll see here that fatigue is building harder than it should have been. 3 by 1 mile at that 530 pace, and then 6 by 200 fast. That's when I kind of knew that I was getting in a little bit over my head, but I just wanted to hang on and stay prepared for Vegas. And so you'll see, feeling tired, went into the race, which was the Frostbite 4, a 4-mile race. And that ended up being, I set my 5K PR in this race, ended up winning with an average of 5:07. And I do believe I had a pretty solid negative split in this race. So executed exactly as I would have wanted to. Maybe could have run a little bit faster, but given the cold weather and all of that, very, very pleased with that race, and felt like executed well, and being able to close strong and really gap the guy in second place made me feel really confident heading into the next section of training. Followed it up with the 18-mile long run the day after the race, really easy. Then the next week, feeling a bit better. I think this was all just mileage, and then 6 miles total at threshold for the week. And then again, a shorter speed session, 8 by 80 seconds at about that 5K race pace. And this was my last real workout. Well, I should say this workout is 9 days out from the half marathon, and then just a little bit of keeping the legs spinning there. 1 week out, and then we get to race week. Easy double, and then our final workout for the week is 10 minutes at marathon effort. So super easy, and followed that up with just some basic strides to close out that workout. And then easy. Sketchiest run of my life. Did not find a good neighborhood to run in Vegas, but that's beside the point. Made it safe with all my travels. And then that leads us to race day for the Rock and Roll Las Vegas Half Marathon. For a full race report, I'll be doing another video going into more depth for that. But I felt really prepared. This was the race of my life up till this point. It is my half marathon PR by a decent margin, and I was able to place second in a half marathon of that size. Very, very pleased. I ended up negative splitting the second half of the race, and so really with the the training block as a whole, I would say was very good for me. Um, you can't complain when you PR. I do think I was a little bit overtrained. I do think I was a little bit overtrained, and we'll see. Following that up, I made a big mistake. And this is really the main takeaway that I want to get from the video is I raced. I ran 63 miles that week. I went in to run 70 miles the next week following a race, 87 miles 2 weeks after the race, 84 miles, 80 miles, and then 76 miles. And this day is actually the day that I got injured. And looking back, it's a big regret. You have to honor your body. You have to honor what your body is telling you. And to go from 90 miles per week for a good section of time to go race a PR and then to follow it up with no rest. I didn't take any time to rest or recover really. I just kept on going hard, kept on going hard, kept on going hard, and I ended up getting injured. And then, yeah, you'll see my mileage dropped off to basically nothing. I could barely run, and I'm actually still in the process of recovering. So, just to recap, then, some of the things that I felt went really well. Number one, the placement of my tune-up races. So that 3K and 4 mile, I think, were placed perfectly leading up to the race. I think they were good race distances to work on that top end speed leading into the half marathon. So very pleased with the 3K and 4 mile race leading up to that. The other things I believe I did really well were the little things. I was on top of strength work, mobility work. I was on top of um, my form drills. So I was religiously doing all of the A skips, B skips, strides, you name it, before every workout. And I do think that that certainly helped quite a bit. And then the other thing was running with a partner. So I ran with Rodrigo a lot. Um, a lot of our workouts were together and we really played off of each other. And this was one of the first blocks that I was able to spend a lot of time running with him. We would go to the gym and run on the treadmill next to each other. We would do workouts together outside, and just having the benefit of running with another person versus running solo was huge. The other key takeaway was nutrition. This was when I really started increasing consciously my the number of carbs I've been taking. So I started tracking the number of carbs that I was eating, which can be a slippery slope, but that was so that I could eat more, not so that I could eat less. Making sure that I'm getting enough fuel, because I do think I was severely underfueled given the amount of miles that I was running. 90 miles a week. You really have to be eating a lot. And so I made that a priority, and I feel like it certainly paid dividends for my overall well-being and ability to nail some of those long runs and workouts back to back. Now, what do I think I could have improved on? I think one of the key factors, there's two factors that I believe led to my injury, and one of them being doing too much, too soon, too fast. And what do I mean by that? Primarily those high-end speed workouts. What I'm talking about is those 150-meter repeats, 200-meter repeats at faster than 5K effort, close to mile effort. I think that those are really good for certain athletes who maybe have more of a background of doing those. Think a high school or college athlete who has a history of running on the track. But that's not me. I didn't run in high school or college. I'm a marathoner, and I think it was just too much of a shock to the system for the position that I was in. It's something that I would love to get to at some point to be able to run those paces more frequently. But I think just jumping into it headfirst was maybe a little bit too much for where I was at. And next, I think my other mistake, which I already touched on, was not resting. So going from a race straight into mileage again, I think really is what put me into the deep end. And looking back, I should have honored my body and really taken some time to rest and recover. Um, take a step back from the workouts, take a step back from the volume, and really absorb that training stimulus that I had been working through. So, with that, that is covers the last couple months leading up to the 2023 Rock and Roll Las Vegas Half Marathon, where I was able to place second overall and have a nice PR. If you guys have any questions about my training philosophy, um, any questions on, maybe what you would want your training to look like, definitely leave a comment below or click one of the links to visit my coaching profile. I do offer coaching services, so if you are curious about partnering with me, definitely reach out. I would love to help you with any of the training questions or needs that you have. Otherwise, definitely check out our other videos to cover some of the workouts that leading up to that race, and some of Rod's workouts as well. So certainly check out those other videos down below. If you're not already subscribed, please click that subscription button, like the video, share it if you've got some value. In the future, I plan on doing a more in-depth coverage of this race exactly, and we'll talk about mile by mile, what was I thinking, how did the race happen, what was the weekend like leading up to it, and kind of my overall thoughts and feelings about it. So stay tuned for that video. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.